teach you a very simple recipe of cookies that are named wine cookies. They're named wine cookies, of course, because they're made with wine. I'm gonna give you an alternative if you don't want to use wine in it. But in general, the wine cookies are a tradition from around here, the south of Rome, the Castelli Romani, because this was a wine production area. They used to, and they still do actually, bring their wines to the center of Rome. So they'll load up their carriages with horses and they'll fill up their barrels and bring them down to Rome and actually have, if you're looking on a geographical point, but imagine that here we're on top of hills. So they'll drive down, they'll go to the center of Rome and they'll bring wine to all the tavernas, all the restaurants basically, and provide them with it. So these cookies are from a port tradition because they are made with wine. Wine was a very cheap ingredient for them because they were producers, and it was a very sugary ingredient. So it is actually a cookie made with only olive oil, wine, sugar, and flour, and a very little of all of the ingredients, but give a nice cookie for a very good end of a meal. They are actually called wine cookies also because they used to dip them into wine, and they still do. If you go in restaurants around here, at the end of the meal, either you order it or not, they'll bring you wine cookies, Ciambelline al Vino, which literally means donuts with wine, and you like leave a tiny little bit of wine in your glass, especially red wine, and you just like dip them in it and you eat them. They're very delicious, very good, and they're very easy to make, and it takes little time, and they cook in only 15-20 minutes depending on how strong your oven is. And yeah, you're gonna try to taste a little bit of the tradition of the Castelli Romani. So follow me and we're gonna make them together. Here are all the ingredients that you're gonna need. You have oil, which could be olive oil or seed oil. You have flour, you have sugar, which could be white or brown sugar. And then you have wine, which could be white or red, as you prefer. I chose to use the red because I like the color that it gives to the cookies. If you do not have wine, or you don't have the age to buy it, or just you prefer use something else, you could use instead cranberry juice or blueberry juice, which are acidic enough but sweet at the same time. So it will still be a very good result. And also you're going to need 1 teaspoon of yeast for desserts. Okay, let's try. So we're going to make 1 cup of sugar, same amount of oil. Then we're going to stir a little bit, and then we're going to add the same amount of wine. And this is what you're going to see. And then we're going to add wine. Again, if you have, I think cranberry juice will be the same acidity, not comparing it to wine, but it's probably a good substitution for it. And 1 cup of, you can use red or white wine. You don't need a fancy wine. It's actually better if it's a lighter wine, not a very aged wine. You can even use sweet wine, dessert wine. So we just stir a little bit. And then we're gonna add flour. Okay, flour, a little bit at a time. And then I'm gonna stir. And whenever I feel like it's dense enough, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna start to make our little donuts. When you hear ciambella in Italian, it means that it has a hole in it, so it's a donut. I'm gonna add also 1 teaspoon of yeast, dessert yeast. And more flour. When it starts to get a little bit more dense, start to add a little bit of flour at a time, not much, so you can stop whenever you see that the consistency is right. Like that, see? Still need a little bit more. Okay, the interesting thing about Italian recipes is, if I ask my mom the recipe for something, she'll say, oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We're not very precise, at least, I mean, yes, industrial or professional cooking, yes, but when you talk about grandmas and mothers, they will always like say, I do by eye, so like I do as I go, and whenever I see that it needs more, I add more. So it's always very hard to get a real recipe from a grandma or a mother. So see, it starts to get the right consistency. So I'm gonna add a tiny little bit more, and then we're gonna work it on the table. I have enough flour, so I'm not gonna add more. I'm just gonna work it with my hands. And it's not sticky at all. It's gonna be very moist. It's never gonna be too dry. So your hands are always gonna be kind of moisturized by the oil. Okay, here we go. That's what we have. We're gonna leave it there as we go and get a little bit of sugar in a plate, because as soon as I do the donut, I'm gonna turn them over it so they get glazed on top with the melted sugar. So we're just gonna get a little bit, and we're gonna roll it in a long pin. Okay. So get a knife. You can make them as big as you want, but don't make them too thin. We want them chubby like that, and then turn them over the sugar, and that's what you have over here. And yep, on the pan. And some of them I'm gonna reopen, I promise, but it's fine, they're gonna taste the same. Okay, just like that, and so on for all your donuts. Here we go. They're ready to be cooked. Okay, and I remove them from the oven. So now we let them cool down, and after that you just break them, and that's what they look like inside. So the tradition wants this. So basically you have to dip it, let it inside for half a second, and then you're ready to eat it. Or you can just eat them without the wine, and they're absolutely great. Enjoy your ciambelline al vino.